My dad served over 30 years in the Coast Guard and wanted me to go, get into the Coast Guard Academy, follow his footsteps. My mom served as an Air Force reservist as a nurse, as a flight nurse. So I had yes sir and yes ma'am on both sides. Yes, growing up.
Yeah, I've heard that the Air Force base is pretty hard to get in. Like the acceptance rates is not, it's not easy, is it?
Oh, it was it had been a dream of mine for a long time, and it is pretty tough because they're not just looking at you academically; they're looking at you physically, also your involvement in the community. So they're looking for somebody that's really well-rounded. Yeah.
Are you so you became a pilot, correct?
I did.
Oh,
yes.
that's really cool. Talk a little bit about like your experience with that, and of course we'll probably tie it into Delta V because I'm sure all that experience, 32 years experience, played a role in what you're doing now. But like you have a lot of great experiences in the military and things that you've flown. And I was just reading up about you, and it's awesome to have someone like you in the community. So let's talk a little bit about that.
About a pilot.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say that. It goes all the way back to when I was in 4th grade, and I was watching. I remember very vividly. It was April 12th, 1981. I just dated myself, right? And it was then that I watched the shuttle launch, and it was the Columbia.
Okay.
The Challenger was my favorite shuttle, but
Yeah.
in this instant, this story was a Columbia. Young and Grippin were the pilots of that, and I just remember watching that with my classmates, and it was just so distinctive to see that shuttle launch, and just it was just absolutely incredible and inspiring. It was then that I wanted to go to the academy to follow that camaraderie, that esprit de corps that both my mom and my father had serving in the military with their colleagues. I wanted to be a pilot because I wanted to be an astronaut as well. And that is kind of where it all started. And so the first step for me was going to that academy and getting that engineering degree. And then I was exceptionally fortunate to be selected at a time when they weren't taking a lot of pilots to go to pilot training. So I was really, really excited about that.
At a time when they weren't accepting not a lot of pilots, but also not a lot of women pilots, right?
Yes. So there in our class, graduating class, there's about 8% women at the academy. So you kind of mentioned that, and so there weren't a lot of women going to pilot training at that time.
That must have been you must have a chip on your shoulder to be someone with enough grit to get through that and know those statistics, right? Did they tell you those statistics up front, or were you just part of the statistics because you were kind of like one among those first women to do so, right?
I was just a young kid with a dream.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay attention to the statistics. I just tried to do the best job that I could and everything that was in front of me. And I was just really driven and determined to do the best I could and, reach that dream.
I think every young kid, especially like young men, like I would say, like aspire to be a pilot at some point in their life. It's just like they watch Top Gun. Like there's so many cool things about being a pilot, right? You're cool. You have great vision. I knew like right out of the gate, you can't get in because the vision, right? I'm like blind. So I knew right away. I was like, no, I can't get in. But there's a lot of stipulations too, right? To getting in the first place, not only like mental aptitude, but physical, right? For like good vision and stuff like that. Talk a little bit more about that.
Just the attributes. Of
getting
is
there physical requirements too, like running and all that too?
Yeah, but you run. You have to do push-ups, sit-ups, and for us, maybe not as for either one of you, but just pull-ups, right? We're just built a little differently, but you had to do that, and I think that for a lot of the women was one of the biggest challenges was just meet that requirement. But they had a standard, and you had to meet it, and that was the expectation, and I like that, right? You want to move forward and be selected based on your aptitude.